Welcome to class. Today we are going to be looking at quadratic inequality, the shortcut approach. Yes, let me warn before I start the class fully that the method that I'm going to be using in this video are different from your conventional methods of solving quadratic inequality. This is more like the shortcut approach in solving quadratic inequality, where you don't have to do a whole lot of testing. You just have to solve, just plug and play kind of method, and then you get your answer without too many steps. So let's go. So we have different cases in this topic. We have case one. We have positive quadratics when your a is greater than 0. Now we all know that quadratic equation uh, is of the form, quadratic equation is of the form ax squared plus bx equals to 0. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So this is the form of quadratic equation. So when I say positive quadratic, that is when a greater than 0. So that means when the coefficient of x here is positive. Then we're also going to look at the case 2. That's case 2 is when the coefficient of x squared is negative. That one is negative quadratic. So each of the two cases, I'm going to solve two examples on each of them. So let's go to case 1. Let's go back to case 1. Where case 1 is positive quadratic when a is greater than 0. So we have two parts of case 1. We have part A and we also have part B. Part A is when you have your ax squared plus bx plus c is less than 0. While part B is when you have your ax squared plus bx plus c is greater than 0. So we have two steps here, two simple steps. So what I'm going to do is that you are going to solve the quadratic equation normally. Solve your ax squared plus bx plus c plus 0 equals to 0. Solve it normally to get the two roots. Usually anytime you solve quadratic equation, you have two answers. One will be bigger, one will be smaller. So the bigger root is called the larger root. The bigger answer is called the larger root, while the smaller answer is called the smaller root. So if the inequality between them is less than 0, so the shortcut will be smaller root less than x less than larger root. Please take note of this. This is very important. I'm going to use this to solve the equation. Um, then look at the second part. If the inequality is greater than 0 and your a is greater than 0, if your inequality is greater than, after solving the quadratic equation and you get your two values of x, the formula here will have been x greater than the x less than smaller root or x greater than larger root. Let's solve an example here so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. Example 1. 2x squared plus 7x minus 15 less than 0. So you can see this is a pure case of when your a is greater than 0. So like I said the last time, do as if you want to solve this quadratic equation. 2x squared plus 7x minus 15 equals to 0. I want to believe everybody knows how to solve quadratic equation, but if you don't know, let me remind you. In this case, our a is 2, our b is 7, and our c is minus 15. We can use the AC method. The AC method. The AC method. What do I mean by the AC method? So what's our AC here? Our AC is what 2 times minus 15, which is minus 30. So it's usually product of AC, and the sum of B. So our AC in this case is minus 30. So we think of two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get minus 30. And you also think of two numbers that when you add them together, you get your B, which is plus 7. So that the two numbers that when you multiply together, you get minus 30, and when you add it together, you get plus 7. Such numbers are plus 10 minus 3. So that will give you minus 30 plus 10 minus 3. So at this point you can solve the equation. So if I want to solve this now, so I'll substitute plus 10 minus 3 to represent b. So that will become 2x squared plus 10x minus 3x minus 15 equal to 0. So more like I just replace this b part here plus 7x with plus 10 minus 3. So I have 2x squared plus 10x minus 3x minus 50 equals 0. So what I will do at this point is that I will factorize. So how will I factorize this? What is common here? I will have 2x brackets x plus 5. First common here, I have minus 3 brackets x plus 5 as well equals to 0. So at this point I'm going to have if I factorize them together, we have 2x minus 3 brackets x plus 5 equals to 0. So that will be 2x minus 3 equals to 0, or x plus 5 equals to 0. So 2x equals to 3, or x equals to minus 5. So x equals to 3 over 2, or x equals to minus 5. So don't forget the question was actually 2x squared plus 7x minus 15 less than 0. So for what I said in the first two, so this minus 5, this minus 5 is my smaller root. This minus 5 is a smaller root. Why this 3 over 2 obviously is more than minus 5. This is a larger root. So anytime you have less than as your sign for the quadratic inequality and your a is positive, so it's usually smaller roots less than x, smaller root SR, larger root LR. So usually smaller root less than x, less than the larger roots. So our smaller root in this case is minus 5 less than x less than minus 3. And that gives us the answer for this, without me doing all sorts of testing and testing. So let's quickly solve example 2. Let's quickly solve example 2. Example 2 is still under positive quadratics when your a is positive. So let's solve example 2. The same idea. I will do as I want to solve this quadratic equation. So that's will give me 3x squared minus 22x plus 7 equals to 0. I'll do as I want to solve the quadratic equation. I'll get my two roots. In this case, our a is 3, our b is minus 22, our c is plus 7. I will get my AC. My AC is 3 times plus 7, which is plus 21. So I'll find the product of AC. I will find the sum of B. So product of AC, think of two numbers that when you multiply them together, to give you minus 20 plus 21. Think of two numbers that when you multiply together, it gives you plus 21. And then think of two numbers that when you add them together, it gives you minus 20, minus 21, minus 22. So such numbers are actually minus 21, minus 1. If I multiply this together, I'll get plus 21. If I add minus 21 plus minus 1, I also get minus 22. So what I will do in this case is that, so the two numbers are actually this and this. So I'm going to replace minus 21 minus 1 in the middle term. I'm going to replace minus 21 minus 1 as minus 20 with minus 22. So that gives us 3x squared minus 21x minus x plus 7 is equal to 0. So if I factorize this, this first two terms, 3x is common. That's 3x bracket x minus 7. First common here is minus 1 bracket x minus 7 as well equals to 0. So the two factors there are actually 3x minus 1 and x minus 7 equals to 0. So let me flip to the next page. The two factors that we got are 3x minus 1 and x minus 7 equals to 0. Let me confirm if I'm correct. Let me check my previous page. So these are two factors that we got. So we will solve this and get the two roots. So the two roots are actually 3x minus 1 equals to 0 or x minus 7 equals to 0. So I'll get my x equals to 1 over 3 or x equals to 7. So let's identify the smaller root and the bigger root in this case. This is the smaller root. Sorry, this is the larger root. The larger root, why this is the smaller root. Obviously, 7 is more than 1 over 3. So this is smaller root. So this is our SR. This is our LR. So don't forget the question. What is the question again? The question is actually 3x squared minus 22x plus 7 greater than 0. So in this case, the inequality sign here is greater than. Now, when the inequality sign is greater than, your answer will be your inequality answer will be x greater than larger root or x less than smaller root. So x greater than, what's our larger root here in this case? Our larger root is 7 or x less than, what's our smaller root? 1 over 3. And that is the end of that. So you can get your answer without sweat, without testing and then trying to draw different sort of number lines that you are used to doing. Okay, so without wasting too much time, let's go into the second case. The second case is when you have negative quadratics. And this is when your a is less than 0. For example, look at the example here. Look at this here. 8 plus 10x minus 3x. If you rearrange this question, that we have minus 3x squared plus 10x plus 8 less than or equal to 0. So you can observe here that our a here is minus 2 is less than 0. So that's why this is called negative quadratic. So what I'm going to do from here is that you must find a way to make it a positive quadratic. And now when you do that, you must multiply the whole quadratic by minus 1. Now take note, anytime you multiply by a negative, the inequality sign will change. So I'm going to multiply all of this by minus 1, each of this term by minus 1, and I'll flip the inequality sign. There's a golden rule for inequality. Anytime you divide and multiply an inequality, an expression that has inequality with negative number or multiply with negative number, the sign will change. So if I multiply by minus 1, let's write it multiply by minus 1. Multiply by minus 1. So I will have 3x squared. I will have minus 10x. I will have minus 8. Then I'll flip this inequality sign to greater than or equal to 0. So I will now start the number solving. How can we solve this normally? The same thing that we were doing before. Our a is 3, our b is minus 10, and our c is minus 8. So find your AC. Our AC is 3 times minus 8, which is minus 24. So you look for the product of AC, and the sum of B. So the product of rates is that think of two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get minus 24. And two numbers that when you add them together, you get minus 8. Let me check here if I'm correct, see if our B was minus 8. Yes, our B was minus 8, minus 10, sorry. Our B was minus 10. So think of two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get your B as minus 10. Okay, the minutes please. So product of minus 24 and the sum of minus 10. So numbers like that are such numbers are such numbers are uh, plus 12 minus 2. Let's check. Plus times minus, that's minus 12 times 2 minus 24. Oh, sorry, that will not give me minus 10. Let's flip it. That should have been plus 2 minus 12. That should have been plus 2 minus 12. Okay. So such numbers are plus 2 minus 12 plus 2 minus 12. So if I find the sum of plus 2 and minus 12, I'll get minus 10. Sum of B. If I multiply plus 2 times minus 12, I'll get minus 24. So the idea is that I'm going to replace this plus 2 minus 12 with I'm going to replace it with the minus 10x here. Replace it with minus 10x here. So I would have 3x squared plus 2x minus 12x. What's our something there? What was our seed there? Our seed there was minus 10, yeah, minus 8. So minus 8 is equals to 0. So how do we solve this now? What's common here? X is common here, so x bracket 3x plus 2. What's common here as well? This minus is minus, so what can go in forever? 4, highest common factor. 4 is common. 4 bracket 3x. This will also be minus 4 in minus 8, that will be plus 2 equal to 0. So we have x minus 4 bracket 3x minus plus 2 is equal to 0. So the root here will have been x minus 4 equal to 0 or 3x plus 2 equal to 0. So that's like x equals to 4 or 3x equals to minus 2, x equals to 4 or x equals to minus 2 or 3. So like I said last time, our bigger roots, now these are the roots. So obviously 4 is a bigger root, 4 is a larger root, LR, larger root, y minus 2 over 3 is a smaller root, SR. Now let's go back to the question. So what was our inequality from the one that we formed? So I'm going to use this. This is what I'm going to use because after multiplying by minus 1, this is what I get. So the inequality is not greater than. So when you have greater than like that, don't forget that when you have greater than like that, your answer is actually x greater than the larger roots or x less than the smaller roots. So this will be x greater than 4 or x less than minus 2 or 3. So that's my answer. That solves that. So you are going to use the sign that you got after flipping the inequality, after multiplying by negative. So you are not going to use the original sign. The original inequality sign was less than or equals to, but the sign that we got after multiplying by minus 1, the flipping the inequality was greater than or equals to. And I will now apply the rule. I will apply the rule for that. The rule for when it is greater than or equals to is written here. It's part of the beginning of my note. x less than smaller root or x greater than larger root. So that is how you solve that. So let's solve the last example and we end the class. The last example, the same approach, example 4, 3 minus 5x minus 2x squared greater than 0. So let's rearrange it. The same idea, let's rearrange it. We rearrange it, I will have minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 greater than 0. Now you will observe here that the same approach here, our a is negative. This is an example of negative quadratic. Our a is minus 2. So I will find a way to make this a be positive. So I will multiply times minus 1. I'll multiply everything by minus 1. I'll flip the sign. So if I multiply by minus 1, that will give me 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. I'll flip the sign, the inequality sign, and this will change to less than 0. So the same thing. So our new a is now 2, our b is now 5 plus 5, and our c is minus 3. So you find your AC. Our AC is 2 times minus 3, which is minus 6. So product of AC and the sum of B. So think of two numbers that when you multiply, you get minus 6, and when you add them together, you get your B, our B, which is plus 5. So such numbers are what? Now think of two numbers that when you multiply, you get minus 6. When you add them, you get plus 5. Such numbers are what? Can anybody help us out with that? I think such numbers should be plus 6 minus 1, and then also plus 6 minus 1. Plus 6 minus 1 will give us minus 6. We put us multiply together, then plus 6 minus 1 will give us plus 5 if I add it together. So what I'll do is that I'll use this to replace, I'll use plus 6 minus 1 to replace the middle term. So that gives us the middle term here. I'm working with this now. So that will give me 2x squared plus 6x minus x minus 3 equals to 0. So I'll just want to solve the quadratic inequality. So we have I'll factorize this. If I factorize this, then will give me 2x brackets x plus 3 plus comma here minus 1 bracket x plus 3 equals to 0. So here I will have 2x minus 1 x plus 3 equals to 0. So the root here will have been our root here will have been 2x minus 1 equals to 0 or x plus 3 equals to 0. So I'll get like x equals to 1 over 2 or x equals to minus 3. So this is my larger root, that is my smaller root. I'm used to my sign now. If I write LR, I means larger root. If I write SR, it means smaller root. So what's the inequality here? Less than. So if you have less than, don't forget the formula. The formula is actually smaller roots less than x less than larger roots. So our final answer here will have been, so our smaller root than minus 3 less than x less than half. So this is where we end the class for today. So you can go through the video over and over again to have the concept fully understood. So anytime you see a quadratic inequality in any of your exam, you should be able to do that. Thank you. See you in the next class.